Chapter 2, Part 2, A Useless Gift. After the partygoers delivered a somewhat subdued rendition of Happy Birthday, Dylan forced a smile and excused himself to the upstairs bathroom to wash up, carefully avoiding eye contact with his parents. The bathroom door closed behind him, and Dylan exhaled deeply. He ran the faucet, cupped water into his hands, and washed his face. Leaning over the sink, he studied his reflection in the mirror. Dark shadows pooled beneath his eyes, evidence from the previous night's revelry. A faint imprint, undoubtedly matching the texture of a Camry floor mat, speckled the upper part of his cheek and forehead. Then, in the mirror, something shifted. In the reflection of the window behind him, a strange face appeared, purple-skinned, dark beret tilted with something like a gas mask strapped to its mouth. Dylan blinked and it vanished. Dylan quickly moved to the window, confusion tightening his features, but the backyard was empty. There was a knock at the door.
"Yo, you good?"
Matt's voice was low, cautious. "Yeah?" said Dylan, still scanning the yard for the mysterious figure. Dylan opened the door quickly, pulled Matt into the bathroom, and shut the door. Matt's black hair was slightly mussed, and his usual boyish smile and cheeky eye twinkle were both subdued by obvious concern. "Are you the one who's messing with me?" Dylan demanded. Matt looked confused.
"Huh? Are you talking about the surprise party? I'm sorry, man. We had this planned for a couple weeks now, and I didn't expect..."
"The party?" Dylan snapped. "No, dude. I'm talking about locking me in a trunk last night and pulling a peeping Tom on me with an alien mask just now."
Matt blinked. "What? You slept in a trunk? And what alien mask?"
Dylan examined Matt's face for any hint of deception. Finding none, he sighed. "Never mind. Sorry, it's been a weird morning."
"What happened?"
said Matt, genuine concern etched on his face. "I'll tell you after the party," said Dylan, and turned back to the faucet to splash his face again.
"Okay, but you better change that shirt. It looks like a disaster, and..."
He leaned in and sniffed dramatically.
"It smells like pickle juice and shame."
Dylan flicked a handful of water at him. Matt yelped, jumped back to the door, and retreated downstairs to rejoin the party. Dylan grinned. Crossing the hall to his room, he grabbed a clean shirt. As he put it on, he cast one more glance at the backyard. Still nothing. Dylan rejoined the party, confused. Dylan did his best to work the room for the next hour. The whole thing felt awkward. It wasn't even noon yet, and his D&D group was trying to make small talk with his boss while his parents watched him from the couch. He could overhear his roommate swapping stories with his coworkers about him. At least the pizza was good. After an hour, each group gave Dylan their congratulations, and after a few hearty pats on the back, took their leave. The last to leave were Dylan's parents. Harriet Herring sat across from Dylan, hands clasped in her lap. She kept opening her mouth to speak and then closing it again, her brow furrowed like she was wrestling with something. Bill Herring had already put on his Bluetooth headphones and picked up Harriet's iPad, clearly hoping to avoid whatever conversation was coming.
"Dylan," she interrupted, "you are 26 now, so there's something you should know."
"You're adopted," Bill cut in, lowering the iPad slightly. Dylan's roommates looked at each other confused, but Dylan rolled his eyes. Bill burst out laughing. "Just kidding, son. Oh, could you imagine?" He raised his iPad again amidst the placating chuckles of Dylan's roommates.
"Bill?"
Harriet slapped him lightly on the arm.
"No, Dylan, listen." She turned back to him. "When you turn 26, you fall off of our health insurance."
She looked at Dylan expectantly. Dylan blinked. "Oh, right. I think I know that. Harriet interrupted again.
"Of course you did, son." She waved knowingly. "Anyways, your father and I have been talking."
She looked at Bill, who was watching a news story about a stray dog with the long hair.
"For your birthday, we've decided to pay for the first year of health insurance for you."
She looked at Dylan. Dylan gaped. "But isn't that like thousands of dollars?"
"Yes," Harriet said. "But given your..."
She looked around the apartment, unable to find the right word.
"Situation, we think it could be a really big help."
Dylan's brain still wasn't working properly. Though he knew he should be grateful, some part of him was still offended by the way that she'd phrased that. Matt jumped up before Dylan could argue.
We got you something too."
Matt pulled a wrinkled envelope from his back pocket and handed it to Dylan. Dylan read the front of the envelope. "Officialtitles.gov?"
"Yes," Matt said with an excited grin. "Okay, bro, so you know how there's those websites where you can become like a Scottish Duke or the Lord of Sealand or something?"
Dylan nodded and peeled open the envelope.
Matt continued. Well, I guess that with that new telescope that NASA has now, they've started doing the same thing, but for newly discovered planets. I mean, I only saw 2 of them on the site, but I'm sure they're going to list more.
The envelope contained a letter and a color photo. Dylan pulled out the letter first. It was embossed, and the paper felt heavy under his fingers. It all felt very official. Dylan cleared his throat and read, "On behalf of the Interplanetary Council of the Artesian System, and in accordance with the laws and regulations of our Constitution," Dylan turned to the inside page. Suddenly interested, Bill lowered his iPad. "We, the 334th Welcoming Committee of Artesis 7, hereby name you, Dylan Samantha Herring." Dylan paused and looked up, exasperated. "Oh, come on," he said. Matt grinned and waved him on.
"Keep reading."
Dylan fumed but continued. "Name you, Dylan Herring, the 334th Emperor of Artesis 7, until such a time as your appointment can be formally recognized." Dylan took the photo out of the envelope. The photo was of a blue and green planet with the label Artesis 7. David and Phil took out the miniature plastic horns they'd been hiding behind their backs and blew on them fiercely. Matt stood at attention, gave a sharp salute, and said, "All hail Emperor Dylan!" Bill Herring chuckled and blasted Dylan with a party popper Matt had given him earlier, spraying confetti all over the couch. Dylan fought it for a moment, then grinned. "I like the sound of that. Emperor Dylan. No, wait. Emperor Herring." He stood up and clasped Matt's right hand, embraced him, and clapped him on the back, a little too hard. "We can workshop it. Thanks, man." Matt winced.
"No problem."
He took a step back. "Samantha." Dylan grabbed a party popper off the coffee table and ran after Matt, who twirled to dodge the flying confetti. Harriet looked at Bill and nodded. They stood. Bill returned the iPad to his wife's purse and picked up a wrapped box next to him on the couch. He tucked the box under his left arm.
"Well, my Lord Emperor," said Dylan's mother with a mock curtsy, "we're going to leave now. Your father has an appointment, and I have to see to the chickens."
Harriet approached Dylan while he tried to shake off as much confetti as he could and gave him a hug. "Happy birthday, dear," she said in his ear. She rubbed his back affectionately. "Thanks, Mom," said Dylan. "Thanks for coming. I appreciate it." Harriet stepped back. She turned to Dylan's roommates.
"You 3 stay out of trouble, you hear?"
She wagged a finger at Dylan's roommates sternly.
"Always," said Phil. "I'll try," said Matt. "You too," said David, wagging his finger back at her.
Harriet left, satisfied. Bill stopped in front of Dylan. "Happy birthday, son," he said, and offered his right hand. Dylan grasped it firmly and shook it. "Accept the gift," said Bill, not releasing the handshake. "We both know you can't afford insurance on your own right now, and we'd worry if you didn't have it." Dylan nodded. Bill released the handshake and handed over the wrapped gift. "And this is something from me," he said. "Thanks, Dad," said Dylan. Bill turned to David, Phil, and Matt, who stood in front of the living room television, and waved. "Later, boys. Make sure you eat the rest of that cake." There was a chorus of affirmations, and Bill exited the apartment, closing the door behind him. Dylan briefly inspected the wrapped package, then turned to face his roommates. "So," said Dylan, "what happened last night?" "He's emperor for all of 5 minutes, and he's already giving orders," said David, shaking his head, his blonde curls exaggerating the motion. "Guys, I almost killed an old lady this morning, and then that alien in the window almost gave me a heart attack," said Dylan. Dylan's roommates looked confused, so Dylan recounted his morning's misadventure. When he finished, Phil laughed, his Korean accent more palpable the more animated he was. "And she hit you with her cane?" he said. "3 times, said Dylan, and he pulled up his shirt to reveal his fresh bruises. "Well," said David, "maybe you shouldn't have tried to kidnap the poor woman. I mean, why didn't you just call an ambulance?" "I tried. My phone died in the middle of the call," said Dylan. "What happened last night?" Matt looked at Phil and David.
"We're not sure what happened to you. We were at the karaoke bar, and after your song, which you crushed, as per usual, 3 dudes came up to you and bought you shots."
Matt's voice turned disapproving.
"Which I told you not to take, but you said, and I quote, 'Can't go wrong after a song with a little birthday tequila.'"
His Dylan impersonation pitched his voice up an octave. I do not sound like that, grumbled Dylan.
Yes, you do, said Matt, and continued. After you took those shots, we were getting ready to leave when you did that thing that you do where you sometimes ho 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 like Santa and then run away from us.
Really annoying, Phil added. I'll work on it, said Dylan. What next?
Nothing, said David. We waited by the Uber as long as we could, but when you didn't come back, we figured you'd gone somewhere else to crash.
When do I ever go somewhere else to crash? Dylan snapped.
Whoa. You're getting mad at us? Said David, putting his hands up defensively. We were worried about you, and we'd had this party planned, and we weren't even sure if you were going to make it this morning.
Dylan looked at each of his roommates in turn. Shit. You're right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still hungover. I probably just need a nap. Great idea, said Phil. Go take a nap, and after we'll take you out for dinner.
Dylan nodded and trudged upstairs. He collapsed onto his bed, his father's gift landing on the floor beside him. Eyes half closed, he was seconds from sleep when a small, crisp voice cut through the haze. Greetings, Emperor-select Dylan Samantha Herring. It is good to see you again. Dylan's head snapped up. Framed in the open window stood a figure in the well-researched, non-threatening garb of a welcoming committee member. Yellow raincoat, rubber boots, a beret, and a Senpar device painted a soothing neon green color which contrasted harshly against his purple skin. Welcoming committee primary Glenn Hope had arrived.